So today what we're looking at is Cosmic Law Ceremonies. It's day 4 for us, but in fact in the classic order it's the 7th great Hermetic principle. Endo evermore, right? But not for us. We do it on day 4 for us, okay? Now before we go into the rundown of what today's all about, there's always something that I want to briefly cover before we go into it, because I think sometimes it's kind of overlooked. In what we do, there are classically 7 operations of alchemy, although there are actually 12 in total, but there are the 7 base ones, the classic ones, yeah? And the ones that are covered in today's class, the law of gender, is fermentation, dissolution, distillation, separation, and calcination. It's in your manuals. You don't need to look at it right now. And all of this stuff is basically connected to the metals, the planets, to flames and to rays. So you don't actually need to know the depth of the alchemical operation, because when we're doing the ceremony, we'll say, for example, fermentation, the flame of such and such, and the planet of such and such, and the metal of such and such is doing such and such. So that is the alchemical process in process. So are you clear about the way it works? Because some of you are actually trying to analyse the words, but the words are also actually in your manuals and explained also. But you don't need to worry about it when we're actually doing the ceremony. That's just something that I wanted to touch upon and underline before we get moving. So are you clear about the operations of alchemy? Yeah? Planets do it, rays, flames, and metals. And so when we say the correct sonic code, it does what it needs to do. Yeah? Cool. Great. So just wanted to touch upon that. Now today's ceremony, because it's large, it's going to be split into 2. So you've got like a part 1, a real quick break, like 5 minutes, and then we go into part 2. But apart from part 1 and part 2, there's a couple of other practical processes that we're going to be doing outside of the ceremonies. So the law of gender is pretty much, it's the only one so far that is set up quite differently from the other 3 that you've done so far, right? So the Hermetic diagram that is connected to the law of gender is the body awareness one, which is at the start of your page. The clipothic connection is Lilith, Queen of the Night. Naughty. Okay, so that's what that's all about. But we need to discuss Lilith a little bit, because I think she's been downplayed, do you know what I mean? And mistreated. So before we go into uninstalling things related to Lilith, we need to be able to understand where she's coming from. Okay? Alright, number 3 is the archetype, the moon. Big one! Ka-ching! And it's actually, it's not, full moon was technically a couple of nights ago, but you can see that it still looks quite full in the sky. Of course, yes, we go into moon business, large style in Samapana class, but this is where the part where it becomes very relevant, okay, because it's very much connected to erroneous and corrupted female energy, okay, so that's why the archetype of moon comes up, in order to correct that within us, okay. When it comes to the 4 worlds, we're dealing with the material plane, we're dealing with Asaya, which is the manifest plane, we're dealing with the earth element, and the archetype is the 10 of Wands, which isn't in your manual, but I was shown that this one is connected to some erroneous male energy, in fact, and you'll understand how that unfolds when we read about 10 of Wands, okay? Okay, so number 5 is something that we haven't got again in our other work so far, and they're called the mental gender schisms. Do you know what schisms are? It's a Greek word. Right, so we're going to look at some of those, we're going to discuss them, and we're going to explore them before we actually work on them, yeah, so we understand them better. The chakra is the base, although we but it's very much connected to base. So that's where we start with the physical, with the body, okay? The frequencies that I won't bother reading them right now. Even though base chakra is connected to, I think it's male, correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah. It's male, isn't it? But we're going to deal with correcting both genders, obviously, at the base, okay? Number 6 is the chakra and the tree of life correspondences. And this is, again, in part 2. Here we've got part 2. And we've got something different with this, which are the directions. North, east, south, west. So there's a part where we're all going to get up and we're going to face the north, we're going to face east, we're going to face south, and we're going to face west. Because each of the directions are again connected to gender erroneous types. That's why we're doing it. Okay? So that's a different little exercise that we're going to do there. Then this is where the pillars come in. You know in the beginning of your manual where you've got the pillars and you've got the male side and the female side? We start to actually correct the sephira, in accordance to the pillars, and how to bring it into the middle, which is the balanced one, okay, the middle pillar, which is what everybody talks about actually in spirituality, you know, the central path, the middle pillar, the central way, do you know what I mean? That's what they're referring to, yeah? Okay, another tarot card comes up here, it's called Judgment, so we're going to go into Judgment a little bit and explore that. And the Hermetic tones, now there's something that I've left behind. Yes, here it is. Male and female archetype transfiguration. That's really beautiful. It's this chart and it looks like a clock. Yeah. And it starts like at 12 o'clock and it goes all the way around. You'll see it shortly. And it goes all the way around like a clock. But each aspect of the clock is connected to a certain energy centre. And that particular energy centre has a male and female negative and positive archetype. You get to select 5 through your intuitive connection so that you can be shown which ones must be corrected. So we're basically balancing gender through many different angles and levels. So that's what today is all about. So as you can see, we have got loads of work to get through, but it's a bunch of fun as well. So does that make sense? We're going to start actually working with that in a few moments. Alright, are you good with that? I'm going to explain it to you in more detail as we move through. Yeah? Thanks very much. See you soon.